Hey, church family. You know, there is no doubt that God has blessed each one of us really beyond measure, and giving back a portion of those blessings can be just such a powerful act of worship. It's our response of gratitude for all that He's done, and then in true God fashion, He takes what we give and He really just multiplies it beyond our wildest imagination. And honestly, the joy that we receive from giving can be even greater than the gift itself. So a few years back, we introduced a challenge called Be Generous, where we pause to reflect on God's blessings and then we respond through generosity. And this year, God is leading us to focus our generosity toward 3 specific kingdom causes. And we're going to take a closer look at one of those right now.
Hey Venture, I'm in Jackson today at Cornerstone Counseling, and a part of the series that we're rolling into now, Be Generous, you're going to have a chance to give towards 3 projects that we're going to roll out to you. And the very first one is one we are super excited about, and we have been in talks with Cornerstone Counseling and with Lee Smith for years now, and we've been praying about what it would be like for our area, our community, to have a counseling service like Cornerstone come to Hattiesburg. And so we've begun to make those plans. In fact, we're going to house them at the Hunt Club campus is where we're going to be located. But today, I want you to hear a little bit more of the heart behind this partnership. And I want to introduce you, if you haven't met, Lee Smith. And Lee is a good friend of mine. He's an incredible counselor. And I want you to hear from him some of his story and really some of the plans that are yet to come. And so Lee, tell us a little bit just about your family to start with, man.
Thanks, Craig, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, so Jenny and I are celebrating 27 years of marriage this year, and we have 3 incredible kids. We have our first off at college right now. He's a freshman. We have a junior in high school and an 8th grader, so life is always constantly full at our house, man.
Yeah. Hey, it's funny, I've kind of known you through all the different seasons of life, and you weren't always a counselor.
Nope.
You've been in ministry, and you were in pharmaceutical sales.
That's
for
right.
a season. But tell us just about your heart for counseling.
Yeah, Craig, I think for me, it all started near the end of high school for me. I gave my life to Christ as a junior. My senior year of college, or high school rather, I really felt the Lord calling me to some type of vocational ministry. And I think during that season, He really took me back and showed me some things in my life. One was when I was a 6th grader and had some anxiety, some panic attacks. I went to see a counselor myself and really benefited greatly from that relationship. And as I looked back, I began to see, a lot of the ways God has wired me is for the deeper conversations. I love discipleship. I love one-on-one, one-on-two type conversations when we get away, periodically, man, it's a deep dive that I really love to do with people. And so I think God just began to show me that counseling is just a great fit for me.
Yeah. Hey, I want to hear more about Cornerstone, but before you get there, walk people through maybe that don't know the connections with Venture, because you've been a part of our team.
Yeah. Well, you and I served on staff at Pine Lake, and it was near the end of my tenure there that I knew God had counseling for me. And it was that same time where you guys reached out, there was conversations about starting a recovery ministry, which I got to be a part of for a few years and really, really loved that. And I think during that time, just fell in love with Venture Church and the people there, and the like-hearted, like-mindedness of Venture and Cornerstone really was a great fit.
One of the things that our staff, man, it's constant that we run into situations where, man, there's a level of care that people need that we're not comfortable giving, that we want to connect them with a counselor. And that's true for folks in Stone County, it's true for our folks in Jones County watching today, on the coast, at the Hunt Club, at Lincoln Road. But really our vision with Cornerstone coming to Hattiesburg isn't just for Venture, it's for our community. And so if somebody begins to be a part of Cornerstone and they come for counseling, give them a little bit of an idea about your practice and what that experience will be like.
We really set out at Cornerstone to kind of change a little bit of the way people perceive counseling. It's carried a negative stigma for years, and we really wanted to be a part of breaking that stigma up. And so we have a very warm personnel. Our crew is just, they're good people. They're really good people, highly trained, skilled at what they're doing. But we aim to make counseling really one of the most enjoyable experiences in a person's week. We want people when they walk through the doors to feel safe, to feel loved. Zero judgment. Man, let us just sit with you and hang out, have a cup of coffee, talk through what's happening in your life, and then guide you through some good next steps in your life.
Can I tell you, we have felt that. Just today being in your office, and it feels so comfortable. And we're so excited about what's to come. So our vision is that the Hunt Club campus will then be the home of a multi-site office, right, of Cornerstone, and that there'd be a location there, and it will feel like this. It'll feel homey and warm And man, we know that, man, you're going to receive some excellent care and encouragement that we can't do today as a staff. But in this partnership, man, we believe this is going to be a big deal for our church and for our community. So we want to say to you, man, we're so glad that Cornerstone's coming to Hattiesburg and that we could partner with you.
Yeah, it's mutual, Craig. It really is. I mean, who Venture is and who Cornerstone is, I mean, these are two great partnerships that have the same heart, really, for people. So we're pumped.
Well, we love you, man. We're
Same.
excited.
Back at you, man.
This is just one of 3 kingdom causes that you'll support when you give toward Be Generous. So on Sunday, November 30th, you'll have an opportunity to give in the worship experience at your campus. And in fact, all the gifts that we receive November 30th through December 2nd will go exclusively toward Be Generous and making these dreams into a reality. So you can give online or on the Venture Church app via text, or you can mail or drop off a check with Be Generous in the memo line. And you can learn more about each of these projects at venturechurch.org/begenerous, where you can really just be reminded of the details and view some of the renderings and understand all of the ways that you can be a part of this work. You know, we see examples throughout Scripture of how little is made much in the hands of God. And the fact that these opportunities have been placed in front of us is really just clear evidence that He is still at work in and through us to draw people closer to Himself. So I hope that you'll be in prayer about how He's calling you to join in, and we hope to see you November 30th for Be Generous Sunday.
Well, church, I want to welcome you today, man. I'm so glad you're with us wherever you're watching today. And I want to tell you, you've come on a great Sunday because we're beginning something new today. We're starting a brand new series. Now, if you're familiar with church or if you've been at Venture for a while, you know this. Typically, our series, our calendars, I mean, they kind of run by series for us. We'll do a series where we're studying a book of the Bible, and you'll know week after week, hey, we're going to be in this book or in this chapter. There's other series that may be topical, where you're going to come for a series and we're going to talk about parenting or relationships or mental health. I think this next series that we're starting, Be Generous, it's more of a pastoral series. It's a series where we're going to talk about some of the choices that we make. And I want to be real honest with you, I make bad choices at times. There's times I can be really selfish. There's times that I look back and I have some regrets. But what I want to challenge you with today is we're going to hold each other accountable for some of those choices, and we're not going to stay where we've started. Listen, when you begin your walk with Jesus and you begin to follow Him, man, things begin to change, and we don't live the same way we used to live because we make new choices, because now Jesus Christ has become our Lord. It's who we're becoming. It's who we want to be like. It's who we want to imitate with our faith. Now, I want to pause for just a second because there's so many things I want to say to you about this series, but I also want to be sure that you're clear on the things that we're asking you to give towards with Be Generous. Now, we're going to roll this series out. Let me kind of give you what you can expect. Today, I'm going to challenge you when it comes to your time. We're going to talk about being generous with your time. Next week, you're going to hear a message from our legacy pastor, and Jeff Clark is going to speak to you. Man, you're going to love what he's going to have to say. Who knows what he's going to say, but you're going to love it. The next week, I'll be back, and I'm going to challenge you when it comes to being generous with your treasure. And then we're going to take a one-time special offering where I'm asking you today to begin to pray about giving towards Be Generous. This is going to happen on November the 30th. That's a Sunday. You've got from that Sunday until December the 2nd, which is Giving Tuesday, to give towards these 3 kingdom causes that we're going to roll out to you over the next 3 weeks. Now, you just heard about the first one. Man, we have been so anxious to tell you about this, because I can't tell you how many times I've sat knee to knee with people in our church, and I hear this from each one of our campus pastors and our student team and our family ministry team. And man, we'll come up against things that you're walking through that are, man, they're overwhelming to us and they're overwhelming to you. And we want to point you to counselors that can listen, that have the tools that they need to equip you and to help you. And so we reached out to the best counseling practice we know in the state, and we reached out to a friend of ours, Lee Smith. He's the founder of Cornerstone Counseling. And we began to pray with him. This was years ago, about what it would be like to bring his practice here to Hattiesburg. And so I want to show you where he's going to go. And this is the Hunt Club campus. Many of you are familiar with the Hunt Club. The Hunt Club's watching this morning, but some of you, listen, I met a guy last week at the Lincoln Road campus. He didn't even know what the Hunt Club campus was or where it was. And so this is our second campus that's in Hattiesburg. We have 2 campuses in Hattiesburg, 2 physical campuses. Started this campus about 11 years ago. It was our first multi-site. And man, now every Sunday there's over 500 adults that meet there. If you're in the Petal area and you're at Lincoln Road, man, I'm just gonna tell you, you may wanna look at going to the Hunt Club. Student ministry is happening on Sunday nights. Care ministry happens over there on Tuesday nights. I mean, it's just a special place to worship. But one of the things we knew when we bought this building out of foreclosure. It used to be a bowling alley, it used to be a bar. But one of the things we recognized was there was more square footage here than we needed. And so on the far end of this building, you can barely even see it in this picture. This is the main entrance. But down here on the other end of this building, we're gonna create a separate entrance and exit. We're gonna create a waiting room. We're gonna have a totally kind of a separated part of that building where we're gonna get to house this counseling practice. And so we're asking you to give towards us creating those rooms, us remodeling that section of the Hunt Club. So if you want to see more about that, there's a webpage we've created that's really going to kind of let the secret out of the bag, because you're going to see all three of the things you have a chance to give to. Just go to venturechurch.org/begenerous and you'll see those things, okay? So today, all I'm asking you to do, I'm not going to ask you to give today, you can relax. All I want you to do today is to begin to pray. And you begin to ask God if you can give towards this and how you can give towards it. And then I want you to begin to tell people that, hey, this is something that's coming. This is something that's going to be available to us that we can point people to. Now, let's talk about today, because today we're talking about being generous with your time. And when you see this word, when this word pops up, generous, generosity, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Listen, if you're like me, the very first thing that comes to your mind when you see that is money. Right? That's the first thing I think about when I see generosity. If you grew up in church, then when you think about being generous, you think about giving 10%. You think about a tithe. You also probably think about saving 10%. I remember that. I was taught that, right? Give 10%, save 10%, and live on the rest. But what we're going to talk about today, it's not money. It's really an area that I think may be even harder than money. In fact, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to share too much because, you know, everybody, what you do with giving is personal to you. It's what God's led you to do. But I do think there's some principles that God teaches all of us, and giving for me has just become a part of my life when it's finances. Right? It's a habit that I'm in. But what I'm going to challenge you with today has been harder for me than giving of my finances. It's giving of my time. Okay? And I want to point you to a scripture. We're going to look at one today. It's in Luke 8. And here's the interesting thing about this passage. I've taught this passage before, and it's been about miracles. It's been about faith. And when we look at this passage today, we're going to look at it totally different. All I want you to see from this passage is some of the choices, because remember this series is about choices, some of the choices that Jesus makes with how he uses his time, all right? So let me set the stage for you while you're looking up Luke 8. Jesus has just done one of my favorite miracles. It's when he calmed the sea. You remember the story when they were going across the Sea of Galilee and the disciples are freaking out, they're losing their minds? And Jesus just steps into the chaos and he calms it with a word. Well, listen, the chaos isn't finished, right? As soon as he gets to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, he's met with people with open arms, but with a lot of needs. It's that moment, you get it, right? When you wake up and you check your phone and before you even leave the house, there's already needs. It's that feeling we get when we pull up in the driveway and the neighbor's kids are there and the neighbor's dog is there and man, everybody's crying and you're like, I just got home. That's kind of the feeling you get, like Jesus has just walked onto the scene. He's just come over, and watch all the demands that are placed on him in his time. Here we go, Luke 8. Let's read it together. Says, now when Jesus returned, a crowd welcomed him, for they were all expecting him. Well, then a man named Jairus, a ruler of the synagogue, came and he fell at Jesus' feet. He began to plead with him to come to his house. You see what I'm saying? Like it didn't take long for Jesus to meet a need. I mean, here it is. Like this man's waiting on him. Verse 42, because his only daughter, a girl of about 12, was dying. Now, as Jesus was on his way, the crowd almost crushed him. And a woman was there who'd been subject to bleeding for about 12 years. Now, no one could heal her. She came behind him and she touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. Who touched me? She asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, Master, the people are crowding and pressing against you. But Jesus said, hey, someone touched me. I know that power has gone from me. Well, then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed. Now, I need you to see that. Because I don't know what all you brought in with you today. I don't know what's on your heart, what's on your mind. I don't know what it is that maybe you just can't seem to get past. I don't know how many environments or crowds you've been in where you've gone unnoticed. But I need you to see that verse. I'm going to read it to you one more time. Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed. That's part of my heart for you today, is that you feel noticed and seen. She came trembling, and she fell at his feet. Now, in the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she'd been instantly healed. Then he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." Now, here's what I want to look at today from this passage. I want to see 3 choices that we can make to honor God with our time. Now, here's the very first one. We need to choose to see needs and to meet needs. Now, this week, many of you know this because if you've got young kids or if you teach, my wife teaches, and I always get to hear stories from school. It's one of my favorite parts when she gets home and she gets to download some of those stories to me of what happened that day. And most of the time she's exhausted. She doesn't want to share a lot of those, but there's also moments where she'll begin to share. And this has been one of those weeks because this is the week of the holiday lunch. It's the Thanksgiving lunch at her school. And so I love Thanksgiving lunch. We went down memory lane. We started talking about when Mac and Rosie, our kids, were in elementary school and how we would show up for the Thanksgiving meal, the holiday meal. And one of my kids, as soon as you walked in, they would just talk your head off, and you'd meet all their friends. The other one of them kind of act like they didn't really care we were here. But we remembered, we asked them, they're now in 11th grade and in 9th grade, if they wanted us to come share a meal with them at lunch, and they didn't take us up on it. But we began to talk about what that's been like for her because she saw a lady that lives in our neighborhood, a mom. And the mom came to have lunch at the holiday lunch, the Thanksgiving lunch. And she sat down at the table with all the kids, and she got to sit right there with her daughter and share this meal with her. And she was so locked into her. She was paying attention to her. She was listening to her stories. And Katie was so impressed with how present this mom was with her daughter. But then she also noticed, and this is why Katie still goes to the holiday lunch, is that there's some kids that show up for the holiday lunch that their parents can't make it. And she watched this mom that's in our neighborhood that came for her little girl to eat lunch with her look up, and she watched her notice the other kids that were at the table that didn't have a parent sitting with them. And she was still just as down in with her little girl, but she would then look up and she would ask questions to the other girls around the table. Now listen, if you've ever been to a holiday lunch and you've got a kindergarten daughter, it's chaos. It is words. Everybody's got something to say. They want to tell you about their day. And she was just in awe of the way that she looked up and she saw all the other kids and the people around her, not just her daughter. Now, here's the thing about this story. I love this about Jesus. Do you see how Jesus did this in the story? Like, he shows up, he's run over by the lady, by Jairus, who's got some needs, but on his way to take care of Jairus' needs, he doesn't just blow right by the woman that needs his attention as well. I'm so bad about that. Like, I get on a mission, I run by a calendar, I'm on my way to an appointment, but yet I don't even see the people on the way. And not only am I bad about that, this is what's double convicting. And I told you, this is a pastoral series. You're going to have to pastor me in this because I struggle with these things. But I was also convicted because not only are there times when I'm busy that I don't see the other things around me, but I guess I'm like double bad at this because there's even moments when I'm not busy, when there's a break in the action or in the chaos in my family, and I check out. I don't know if you do that. But if I'm waiting on the kids to go to bed, I just check out and I start scrolling. If I'm sitting at a red light and I have a minute, I just check out. In fact, here's a study, this is interesting. Study says that 77% of young adults answered yes when asked, when nothing is occupying my attention, the first thing I do is I reach for my phone. Come on, would you be brave enough to say that that's you as well? That when there's nothing pressing, the first thing we do, instead of look up for other needs or people that are around you, we look down. I heard a person on our staff, Ben Wade, said that's called the tech neck. That's what you do, right? Instead of looking up, you lock down like this, and it's really hard to see the needs that are around you when you have the tech neck. Because if I'm not doing the doom scroll, then I'm just doing the tech neck, and I'm down here and I don't see anybody that's around me. Jesus lived a lifestyle that was so different than that. He was so present. It blows my mind when I read through Scripture, and I love the Gospels, and it talks about how present he is. But listen, this wasn't easy for him either. Look at the text that describes the crowd. I mean, look at what it says. It says, as Jesus was on his way, the crowds, they almost crushed him. I mean, this was a season for Jesus where he was at the height of his popularity. I mean, he was in the boat, and he had to do a miracle in the boat because the disciples were all yelling at him. As soon as he gets out of the boat and he gets on shore, he's met with Jairus, and Jairus has a need. He's got to go see his little girl. As soon as he gets going on the way to see Jairus, he's interrupted again by the woman who has a need. He is in a season that may remind you of a season of life that you're in. How many times today have I heard my name? Mom, 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 mom. How many times today have I heard dad, 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 dad? And Katie uses the words, it's like my brain is oozing out of my ears. And I just want to encourage you if you're in that season, because Jesus understands what that's like to be in high demand. Maybe you're a grandparent and you're back in the game. Maybe you're a teacher and you are exhausted because of the holiday lunch. What I'm telling you is, you know this, you've heard this before, that the days are long and the years are short. And I want to speak to you if you're in that season, because I know how hard that season can be. I want to tell you a secret that I noticed from Jesus. The more I read the Gospels and the more I studied Jesus, it's like he knew something that we haven't yet maybe owned or accepted. When he got so busy like that, and when he was in the highest of moments of demand, when everybody needed him, it's like he still found time to check into prayer and to talk to his Father. I mean, in the hardest moments, when everybody's looking for him, it's like he gets in this, I'm going to call it a prayer portal, where he steps out of that moment for just a second and he connects again with his Father, and it helps him step back into that moment prepared. Listen, I'm not going to shame you today saying, hey, you need to be in a New Testament, Old Testament, 18 highlighter study for 2 hours every morning. No. But I'm going to challenge you a little bit. That even in those moments of high demand, and even when you ready for this? This is going to send some of you into shock. 42 days away from Christmas. Whew. The pace of life over the next 42 days is going to be crazy. And I'm going to challenge you in the middle of that pace of life to get into that prayer portal. Just to close the door for just a second before your feet hit the ground, before you grab the phone, and begin to pray. God, here's a great prayer. Open my eyes to the needs that are around me. That's a pretty simple prayer. It didn't take me long. Here's another one. God, help me be wise in my choices today. Here's how Paul said it. I love what Paul said in Ephesians. He said, be very careful how you live. Not as unwise, but as wise. Now watch this. It keeps going. It says, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. I love that little phrase. Making the most of every, and it uses the word opportunity. I'm going to tell you, sometimes those little snot-nosed kids don't seem like an opportunity. Sometimes those distractions are the last thing in my mind. Is that an opportunity? But in all reality, it is. It's what Jesus modeled to us. Now watch this. There's several ways that you can say this. You could say, redeem the time. Other passages may use the language, making the most of every chance you get. Every chance you get. It's almost like time is a gift. It's a chance. It's an opportunity. And what I'm challenging you today is, what does it mean to be generous with those? What does it mean to be a steward of the time you've been given? What does it mean to manage that time well? Now here's the second thing I think we've got to do, and this one's, naturally, it feels like this would be easier for me because I feel like I'm a people person, but I still struggle with this. Here's the second thing. I want you to choose people over plans. I love this about Jesus because I see it again with him. There's two people we've introduced you to. It's Jairus, right? And there's Jairus. Jairus is a leader. Jairus is a parent. Jairus is the first one to get to Jesus. I think Jairus is popular. I think Jairus has means. Then you get the second person in the story, and you get the woman. Now, she's nameless. We don't know her name. She's got a condition that leaves her unclean, untouchable. She's sick. She's broke. She's broken. Those are the two stories. Those are the two characters in our story. Those are the two people. But what I love about Jesus is you don't really see a lot of favoritism there. In fact, you watch him and he's on his way with Jairus to go take care of his 12-year-old daughter, and at the same time, he stops everything for the woman who's been bleeding for 12 years. He derails everything for her. He stops the disciples. They were on their way to watch him do a miracle. He stops Jairus. He stops the crowd, and we know the crowd's pressing in on him. I started thinking about my reaction in that moment. Like, I just put myself there because we've talked about my kids. I have kids. I'm a father as well. What would I be like if I was Jairus in that moment? I can tell you what I'd be like. I'd be like this. And then I'm not patient. I'd be like this. I'm pretty bold. I can just tell you, I would probably be like this. I would be grabbing my phone and be texting my wife, hey, we're coming. I promise we're coming. I just got the ADD Jesus today. I'd be frustrated because he's not running on my timeline. This isn't what I saw happening. My attention is such a precious resource. And I want you to see that about Jesus. Look at this little line about attention. Attention is our most sacred resource that we have. And so you're going, sure, yeah, Jesus gave his attention to the wealthy synagogue leader, Jairus. No. Jesus also gave his attention to the broke down, alone, desperate woman. And see, my attention at times doesn't do that. It's like, I'm just being honest with you. Sometimes it goes one way or the other, but I've noticed that love cares more about who's hurting than who's watching. Isn't that convicting? It's like Jesus cared more. It didn't matter about the crowd. It didn't matter about the disciples. It didn't matter about the leader from the church. He saw the one that was hurting. He saw her. It starts with seeing her. And so I want to speak into this just for a minute with you because I know you well enough to know if you saw her, you would help her. But you're like me, and I told you this is a convicting message for me. Sometimes I don't see her. So let's talk about that. What keeps us from seeing people? For me, the chief things that keeps me from seeing people is my phone. I get locked in on it. I get the tech neck. I get the death scroll. That's the reason that I miss things for the most part. That's the reason I miss things my kids are wanting to tell me. That's the reason my attention is divided. Now, here's what really hurts my heart, and you may be in a different situation than me. Our elders at our church hold me accountable, and our elders have given me permission to be present with my family. So the only person I have to blame for not being present with my family is me. It's my choice. And so I want to ask you to fight back a little bit, because if you're like me, you've compromised a little bit with your attention, and your attention is your greatest resource. And Jesus shared his attention with the popular people and with the needy people. And so let's put some things in place that are going to help us fight that are going to help us battle against that. Here's some simple things you can do. You ready? To fight for attention. The first thing I want you to do, this is really easy, but it comes with our phone. The very first thing you've got to do and I've got to do, let me find it, is we've got to make a no phone zone. We've got to have some time in our life where despite all the other things that are going on and all the texts that need to happen and all the group me's that are coming through, if you're in group me, bless you, all the teams message that are happening, but from this window, all right, from 5:30 to 7:30, we're going to have a no phone zone. That's the first thing, real simple, all right? Second thing you can do is, this is just, it's hard to even say because we struggle with it. Would you model not sleeping with your phone? That sounds weird, doesn't it? But come on, let's be honest. You're in an affair with your phone. It has your attention. You kind of get in a little secret space. You take it to the bathroom and you make a few texts or scroll. You're doing things on your phone nobody really knows about. You're having an affair with your phone. And so I want to challenge you to get in the habit of sleeping in one room and putting your phone in another room. Here's the third thing. Would you turn on screen time limits? This is such a beautiful thing. Now listen, don't share the password because then it's not going to work, but put some limits on there. Where when you hit that limit, you're going to at least have something that comes up in your mind like a check. Like, hey, I need to stop. Without it, you're just going to keep going. Here's the fourth thing. Real simple things. Now, you got to do these things, but I want you to make it a contest. I love this about the podcast this week. Don't forget about the podcast. I mentioned it to you last week. But one of the ways that we opened up the podcast this week is the 3 people that do the podcast, they shared how much time they'd spent on their phone. They were real open and honest about it. You had a winner and a loser. And I want you to do that around the table. I want you just to, no hold bars. Let's go. Let's see. Show me how much time you spend on your phone. Parents, we got to model this. We get so frustrated with the TechNet kids and the doom scroll. We get so mad about how much time they're on their phone. It may be because they're doing what you're modeling. And I know in my house, in my life, this is something that I've got to work on. And I'm just confessing that to you. Now, here's the third thing we're going to do to kind of redeem, to make the most of our time. This one's also convicting. We're going to choose love over hurry. These two things, this word love and this word hurry, they don't go together. They don't mix. They're incompatible, right? You either give someone the gift of your love or you rush them and you live a lifestyle of hurry. This is really hard for me because I lean more on hurry than on love. This convicts me. But I'm asking you to begin to think about that. What would it be like for you to slow down? Remember what Paul said in 1 Corinthians. He's describing love, the gift of love, and he gives us all of these words. But the very first word he uses to describe love, he says, love is patient. It's hard to be in a hurry and to be patient. Think about Jesus, man, all the way that Jesus models the things that we're to do. The biggest thing he says, the one thing I want you to focus on is love. Look at this verse. This is what Jesus says. Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all of your heart and with all of your soul and with all of your mind. This is the first and the greatest commandment. And he goes on from there. He says the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Go, go, go. No. Love. Love them. Be present with them. It's time consuming. You have heard this. Let me just remind you, how do you spell love? Real simple. Time. What a simple message today. I'm just challenging you. I'm asking you to be generous with your time, to give someone the gift of your presence, to fight against the distractions. So I started thinking, well, let's make this real simple. I got to give you an application. Every message has got to have something to do. This has a really simple application. It's probably something you've never heard before. You ready? Here's what I want you to do. This is your application for today. Real simple. Quit something. Listen, I know you. I love you. I live a lifestyle a lot like you. You can't ask me to add something else to my plate. It's full. Same thing for my wife. We're working, we're raising kids, we're going to practices and games, we're involved, we're serving, we're in house church, we're at the movement. We don't have a lot of room in our life to add something. The only thing we can do is to quit something. And that's tension, that's hard, because a lot of us involved in a lot of really good things. But if you're going to be able to give your family the gift of your presence, then you're going to have some time. And the gift of time is not something that you can hurry or you can rush through. I love what the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. It's a really brutal book. But there's a line in it that I just couldn't get past because I think it applies to all of us. Look at this quote. It says, for many of us, the biggest danger we face isn't that we would renounce our faith. And I believe that. I believe that about each of you that are watching. And I don't know that that's really a temptation for you. I know there's sometimes that we struggle in our faith or we feel distant. But man, we're anchored to this hope we've put in Jesus. But the problem is that we've become distracted and we've become rushed and we're preoccupied. And then next thing you know, we settle for a watered down version of our faith. Man, that is so convicting to me because I want to get it all in. And so I end up cheating everything. And I end up settling for something that looks like just showing up on a Sunday and heading on home. Just showing up maybe at house church 1 out of 4 times they meet and then just headed home. Just showing up for a quick game or showing up for a quick conversation or rushing through bedtime or barely making it to sit down for a meal. And I've cheated the process. What I'm asking you today is to create some room. Here's the last thing I want to share this with you because I have this written in my closet. And it's one of the things I see all the time, and it helps me stay grounded. And it's a cool little phrase. I want you to remember this. It's real simple. It says, I get to be here for this. I did a funeral on Friday. He was a good friend of mine. We grew up together. I'm 46. He was 48. I get to be here for this. Be present and grateful to be the one at the games, even in the cold. In the car line, even when it takes forever. Looking for folders. That drives me crazy. If my kids lose their homework one more time, counting the new freckles. It's one of my favorite things to do when summertime comes and you're with your kids. I see that every week, and it just reminds me, it creates a tension in me to ask, hey, am I present or am I distracted? So here it is, quick recap, okay? The only thing I'm asking you today, choose to see the needs and meet them. Choose to be people that choose people over plans. Choose love over hurry. Come on, let's pray together because we need it for this one. God, I thank you that you're so patient with us. God, I thank you that you love us so much that you chose to leave heaven to come be present with us. That you left us the Holy Spirit, that we're not alone. That you pursue us, and in fact, you pursue us recklessly and constantly and consistently. And God, we want to be those kind of followers. We don't want to be half-hearted. We don't want to be distracted. God, we want to be intentional. We want to be present. We want to fight against the schemes of the enemy. And I think a scheme of the enemy is he's made us so busy. So God, give us courage to quit something and to go deeper, to understand your love and your grace, to live an unhurried and a present life. It's in your name we pray. Amen.